Hey, I'm Diana Taurasi from the Phoenix Mercury, and you're listening to the 3 Point Conversion Radio.
Raise your hands if you have questions for Sami, and we will do our best to get to everyone. Thank you. Miles?
Hi, Sami. Thank you so much for talking to us today and all season. When you joined the Liberty in the offseason, you were coming off a championship with the Storm while the Liberty had won just twice in the bubble. So what were your expectations then, and how do they compare with the execution throughout the season?
I think expectations were obviously they grew, I think, as I saw the team forming and coming together and who was being signed and all of that. And honestly, I had pretty high expectations for the group. I obviously was familiar with Natasha, having played with her. I'd played with Benijah before for a season. I had seen Sab play, and I was familiar with some of the other players as well, like Beck. So I had high expectations. And for me, a lot of it had to do with, building the culture that we wanted for the future, for long term, obviously being a younger team, being a team that was very new together as well. That was going to be a lot of what we wanted to develop and to grow. But, we have a lot of talent. So it was also about, for me, I wanted to make playoffs. That was like goal number one. I thought we were a playoff caliber team. And I thought that was going to be a big goal for us to work for and to achieve. So in that regard, I'm really pleased and proud of the group. But there was so much growth throughout the course of the season that I think, really surpassed anything that I could have probably imagined for us. So I'm really pleased.
Thanks so much. And just as a quick follow-up to that, how do you take what you've learned and all of that growth and continue to build into next season, especially with everybody going in different directions for the next 6 months or so?
Yeah, I think all of us, now can kind of reflect, I think, individually, personally, on the things that we want to develop on and work on and get better at, and hopefully collectively as well, the things that we know will help the group and when we come back next season. But I think, the way we finished, I think, really sets the tone for next year in terms of our focus, our execution, our level of effort, maintaining that for really pretty close to an entire game for 40 minutes in both those two games. I thought we did a really good job of that. Obviously, there's still breakdowns, there's still mistakes. But I think the way we responded, the way we stayed true to ourselves in those games was really, really critical. We stayed together, we held each other accountable, we worked really hard, we played through adversity, all those things. And that's really going to set the tone. So hopefully we can take kind of the way we finished into next year and use, sort of the really awful way that we lost and the way in which we went out as motivation and fuel for all of next season too.
Thank you so much, and good luck this offseason. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Miles.
Jackie?
Hey, Sami, thanks so much for being here and early, especially. So just to build off of what Miles was asking you, as a player with experience, and I think you've been knocked out in single elimination before, even when you were with Seattle. What do you think the key is to getting over the hump next season?
I think just continuing to develop and to grow and to learn from this. I think that consistency, and I think just starting the season where we finished off, so there's no drop off. We know what our foundation, what our threshold is. We know we want to start here, and then we continue to grow from there versus, maybe starting down here where we started kind of earlier in the season. We know we're capable of in terms of that stuff. So demanding that of ourselves from the very beginning, I think will go a long way. And obviously, to Miles' point, everyone going away and working on the things that, we know will help us next year to continue to get better in our schemes will be really, really essential, because we are young and we do have players that we're going to need to rely on moving forward more. And now they've had a taste of what it takes in the league, and hopefully they'll continue to grow and develop. And hopefully we can all bring that together next year and just really continue to grow together.
Brilliant. And to follow up on that, I guess how vital is it going to be to make sure that a lot of these pieces stay on the roster in order to continue to build that chemistry that you want to?
Yeah, I think with any team, you're trying to keep a core group together. You see that with where Connecticut's at now, where Seattle got to, and still is. It's hard I think, to get that sort of chemistry and that sort of experience together as a group if you're not keeping some kind of group together. So obviously, yeah, that's vital. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of that kind of stuff behind the scenes. I trust, our coaches and staff and management and all of that. They'll make the best decisions when it comes to those things. But yeah, hopefully we can move forward and continue to grow with a really, kind of similar core group that you've seen. And that would be really exciting, I think, just to continue to work together.
Thanks so much, Sami, and take
Thanks.
care.
Thank you, you too.
Jeff Magliochetti.
Thank you, Sami. Thank you for joining us and all season as well. As someone who embraced a leadership role this season, how do you think the young players exceeded your personal expectations, and how do you think they best matured and developed this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we asked a lot of our young players across the board, really. Mick was thrown into a starting role, and I thought she thrived and did so well in that. Dee Dee was phenomenal all year in terms of coming in whenever we asked her to, in whatever capacity, for however many minutes, and always gave us really, really good minutes, really, really just impacted the game consistently. And they did that in practices as well, and they got better, and they worked hard, and they got in the gym, and they did everything they needed to do. They learned how to become professionals, and I thought they did a really good job of that. And developed into that throughout the course of the year. And that's, true across the board, not just with, the rookies, but even with the second year players who, this was still their first true experience in the league in terms of traveling, in terms of experiencing the fans and what it's like to play on the road and all of those kinds of things. It's different to that bubble experience for sure. So I thought we asked a lot of them. I thought they stepped up. I thought they learned a lot. And I thought at every stage when we needed them, they always gave their best. And that's really all you can ask. So I'm excited to see their development over the next few years.
In your first response, you mentioned that this team is building a culture and building an identity. In your own words, how would you describe the identity you've established so far throughout the year 2021?
Yeah, I think, we're very much a team. We don't have kind of that obvious. I mean, yes, we've got Benijah, we've got Sab, we've got Tosh in terms of the big three, but in terms of just like, maybe one kind of main player, I don't really feel like we have that. We've really got kind of a spread, and we're at our best when we're utilizing all of the players, when everyone's kind of feeling good and playing well. So I think that's special too. I think, we are kind of a blue collar team for sure. We thrive on working really hard, outworking teams, doing those, kind of little things that really make a difference in terms of effort plays and 50-50s. That stuff for us is really, really critical. And so I think those are the things that we need to continue to build on, the holding each other accountable, holding ourselves accountable. All of that goes a really long way, I think, in terms of that culture stuff. And that's, I think, kind of the baseline for us.
Appreciate your time and insight all year. Safe travels home. Send our best to your family.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Sami. Next up, we will have Coach Hopkins. Let's give him a second to get to the room. It may take a couple of minutes. Thanks, everybody. Jackie Powell.
Hey, Walt, good morning. Good to see you. Glad you got back all in one piece. So I want to, I guess, follow up a little bit from that game, just a tiny bit, just because it was so hard to hear and whatnot. And so I wanted to ask you about Reshonda in particular from that playoff game, how she looked, and just looking at her growth wise, she was a player who didn't always have the confidence to shoot. And then sometimes she'd even have some yips at the free throw line. And that's just from me watching her over the years. So sure, she's a vet, but I'm curious as to how you felt she developed over what was this roller coaster of a season for her.
Reshonda is one of the most mentally tough people, not just players, that I've ever met. I think that there's a really special sense of self-belief that Reshonda has that's kept her in this league for a long time. I think, to go with her relentlessness, and her drive and her toughness. I think that she really does believe in herself. And that's why, I don't want in any way for us to, say, oh yeah, like we fed her a bunch of confidence. It's like, no, we really just demanded, what we could out of her, and the rest was her. Her development was, the determined. She was the one who stayed late and got shots with Shelly P, and did workouts every day after practice. She was the one who got extra free throw reps when everybody else was getting a drink. And then to go with the leadership that she showed, there's leading is really hard. And it's really hard. It's really nuanced. And Reshonda, I thought, did a masterful job of coming in and finding ways to lead in so many different avenues, on the court, off the court, vocal, by example, go at somebody hard one day, give them a hug. She brought so much to this team on and off the court. I couldn't be more proud of Reshonda. And I really am excited to know her, and it's she's pretty special.
Wow. And I guess in particular, that game where, she didn't miss a shot, she set hard screens, hit a three. How did that help you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was massive. We went with her experience. It was actually an in the moment call, as it often is with her and Kylie, because they're both so capable. Mm-hmm. And I opted in the moment to go with Reshonda's experience and kind of her hustle and her athleticism, and she made it look like I made the right decision. Yeah, I mean, and the three that she hit was just, you guys, I mean, talk about self-belief, right? Like in a playoff game, the way that the game was going, it wasn't like a rhythm late shot clock. It was like, no, I'm going to shoot this because you're playing off of me. It was wonderful. It was just a wonderful moment. I was so proud of her. I just wanted to give her a big hug when she came out of the game. She really kept us going.
I appreciate that. And now a bit more big picture. There's a lot of time between now and training camp, as we know. And so I'm curious as to what your process looks like when it comes to how you reflect on this season and then sort of figure out what next season's going to look like.
I think one of the things I told the team that I really meant after the game was, we get to start here next year. We get to start all this experience that we've gotten, all the ways that everyone here has grown, everyone in this entire organization. It's really a young group, not just in age, but also in experience in a lot of ways. Coaching staff, Jonathan, all of us, we're all still learning. And I think, the idea that we get to start training camp with the ferocity and the focus and the intensity and the leadership, that it really took us a season to figure out how all those pieces fit together and, who did what when. That's kind of the way of things. There's not really a shortcut for that. Now look at the growth from the beginning till the end. Look at the way that so many of these players have developed, and think that we get to start there and then do the same thing again. And the amount of building that we can do in a season, I think we've shown is sizable. So going forward, we're doing exit interviews right now with players as well. And, the so far prevailing message has been to use this time really intentionally, to use the frustration and of the close games that we didn't pull out, of the high turnover games, of the rookie mistake games, all that stuff, to use that and as fuel, and to be really intentional overseas, because sometimes it's easy to just get caught up in, well, I've got to score 20 a night and we've got to win. And it doesn't matter if I'm working on things that I need to work on, back with the Liberty. That's a really challenging thing for these players. And so one of the ways that, to answer your question, that we're going to be trying to prepare for next season in terms of the players on an individual basis is to stay in contact with them and to help guide them in the direction that they want to go as players, to use this off season as a tool to continue to refine skills that they've learned here, and then potentially to add skills that they want to add for next year.
Brilliant. And finally for me, and then I will pass the mic, of course, flashing back to last year, a year ago, there were a lot of personnel changes in last off season. And so I guess I'm curious as to your confidence with this current group staying together and building that chemistry, similarly to what we've seen with Connecticut and with Seattle.
Yeah, I think we've got the vast majority of pieces in place right now. Think of how far Didi or Michaela came in one season as rookies, playing really important minutes. Think of what they're going to be like in 3 years. Those two. The potential of this group is tremendous. And I think that it's not just the individual growth, but it's also the collective growth of how they play with one another within this system, what's expected of them, all that stuff. They come in with that knowledge now after this season, and last season was really, for so many reasons, just not a real experience for so many of us. This was our first season really together. And so I think that looking at it from that perspective, the future is so bright here with this core of players, and I really appreciate all of them in different ways.
Thank you so much, Coach, and take care.
Miles.
Hey, Coach. When you look at, at the beginning of the season, you talked a lot about how you wanted to build the club's identity off of defense. And while opponent shooting percentage was in the middle of the pack, teams averaged more made field goals against the Liberty than against any other team. So when you look at making those improvements in the offseason, do you attribute those struggles more to roster makeup with a smaller, more athletic team that's trying to cause mismatches? Or was it those live ball turnovers that you were constantly talking about cleaning up some of that execution?
Yeah, the turnovers were big, and I think we saw in the second half, like I said, we had that big game of turnovers against Connecticut, which it's Connecticut, they're really good. But how many games do we have down the stretch of 10, 12, 13, when we were up, we could not get below 20 for a while. It really speaks to the growth. It's not like defenses got worse. Defenses get better as the year goes on, and we started to learn how to take care of the ball. We really started to kind of cement some of the habits that are necessary to be able to take care of the ball at this level, that I don't think a lot of players get the requisite preparation, at other levels. And I think for a lot of reasons, it's not an indictment of other programs or teams or anything, but there's just a real heightened sense of awareness surrounding the development of the skills necessary to succeed at this level. And some of those skills are really rudimentary: ball fakes, footwork, not traveling on drives, slowing yourself down, making the right read, those things, they just take time. So I think that as far as the defense goes, we would be dramatically better defensively had we not turned the ball over so much. Particularly early on, when you looked at the field goal discrepancies in those games, some of them were massive, 12, 15 fewer field goal attempts than the other team. And for the most part, that was based on our propensity to turn the ball over. So I think that, and then additionally, as the season went on, people got more comfortable with our schemes. And as a result, we were able to do more creative things. We were able to, employ the doubles that were, in my opinion, dramatically effective in those last two games, while also doing a lot of switching, which is, as everybody knows, that's been something that we've envisioned from the very beginning of this, that we've been building a team that was switchable, with players like Michaela, like Didi, that are capable of really guarding 5 positions for short stretches. And then, the tenacity and the ability to be locked in on the backside as to, if one person moves, I have to move. And if that person moves, I have to move, and everybody moving on a string. That stuff all takes time. And I think that we're just scratching the surface of, once you get the muscle memory of where to go, as you see with Connecticut's defense, it's so consistent because for the most part, those players have been doing it for so long. And the players who come in, they've got all these models. They've got, 3, 4, 5, 6 models of people who have done it for 3 or 4 years. Really, we've done this stuff for one season. We've changed a lot. So I think that the future is very, very bright when you look at the capacity of the individuals on this team to grow in terms of their understanding of our collective identity defensively, because they're all individually capable of guarding, in their own way. So I think that we're going to continue to see growth in that area, just honestly from the reps and the consistency of doing what we do.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer, Coach. And then just one more from me. I wanted to ask you about Tosh, who, after averaging about 14 a game on 47% shooting in her first 9, really turned it around and took a leap offensively in September, averaging 20 points on 64% shooting. And how much of a lift is that for you guys, knowing forward, heading into the offseason, seeing her get healthy and start to develop that chemistry with the guards, with Benaja, with Sabrina, and just in terms of your game planning going forward, seeing that her versatility on offense?
Yeah, that Tosh's injury really changed a lot of this season, not just in terms of wins and losses, but in terms of what we could do, in terms of our ability to be switchable, in terms of, our ability to trap or, double or front or, whatever. There was a lot of stuff that we kind of delayed the install so that we could get Tosh involved. I think that, that coupled with her coming off of that injury, needing to be reincorporated, really, kind of thrown into the fire essentially, because she's one of our star players, and a lot's expected of her. And I think that for a little bit, there was some pressing, she was pressing to try to create and to try to live up to, what was needed in the moment. And I think that as the rest of the team kind of adjusted around her, there was just a big learning curve there. And I think we saw it with, look at the change in the Michaela's shot attempts and, things like that. Once Tosh came back, everybody's role changed. We didn't go to Sami as much, because we were trying to get Tosh involved. We were trying to get her going. And, again, like we didn't get to have a training camp with her to see how she fit. She didn't get to learn all that stuff. And, we just kind of had to throw her in there, structurally healthy, but not game ready healthy, not 3 weeks of practice healthy. So I think what Tosh was able to do in the latter stretch was absolutely brilliant. It was Tosh. We got to see really the Natasha Howard that we know, and I think that a lot of it was completely out of her control those first few games, because she wasn't healthy, she wasn't in rhythm. She didn't know the system, from playing in it. She knew it from sitting on the sideline, but we all know that's different. Like, I don't know how well I would run our sets if I had to go in there and play tomorrow, it's just different. So I'm really proud of her. I'm really proud of how she stepped up on the court, of course, with her effort and her toughness and her resilience. I'm also proud of the way that she led. I've known Tosh for a long time. I've known her since she was a rookie, and seeing how she's come out of her shell and really found her voice is special. It's really fun.
Thanks so much, Coach, and good luck this offseason. Hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Everyone, we are a little bit behind schedule, but I do want to get to both Erica and Jeff. So if we can go to Erica quickly and then Jeff, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for everything this season, and also to you, Brian. But Coach, the question that I had, I was talking to another WNBA coach, and they were talking about building consistency over the years. And one of the things that this coach said was that every once in a while they try to have their team overachieve in certain areas. I wonder if you've given any thought to maybe how something like pushing a little bit more for a team that has already established a baseline. How will that fit into how you hope to coach this team to continue to grow and develop that consistency in particular?
Yeah, I mean, Erica, we push them every day. We demand more every day, on the court, off the court. It's one thing how I manage expectations with you all. It's another thing what I do in the locker room. We push them very, very hard. We demand a level of accountability, respect for one another, treatment of one another, response to adversity. I think that I'm not sure if I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly, but if I am, it's, to demand more wins or whatever performance-based thing there is. And I can tell you from experience that does not work with this team. Might work for some coaches, for some players. This team needs time. They need to know that they're trusted. They need to know that we're there for them through mistakes, that it's okay to need time to get better at things. If the idea of pressing for faster development in anybody's mind is a better way, then, that's their prerogative. But I'd say we've achieved some pretty damn good results.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. And again, just wanted your philosophy there. But what I hear you saying is something else that I talked to this coach about, and it's how do you balance that with alleviating pressure? And I get the sense that toward the end of this season, this team was able to do that by communicating more with each other. I wonder if you can talk about, again, from a coach's perspective, how you feel that can be something of a staple as you move forward with this team.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I'm talking about when I say we get to start from this point in training camp next year. They learned what that looks like. Our leaders learned what leadership looks like, and what's necessary for this team to be pushed on a daily basis. It can't just come from the coaches. It has to come from the players. I can tell you our players that played in Seattle reinforced that from their experience, that was absolutely one of the focal points of the growth and development of that team, was that they had player leadership and it was consistent. It was every day. That's having your peers hold you accountable is an entirely different dynamic than just having it come from the coaches. So I can say that communication and what's going to be required of us to be successful, without a doubt, we turned a corner here in this last, week and a half. And I think that everybody's kind of chomping at the bit to go start a season with the knowledge that we have now that we're ending this season with.
And thanks to you as well, Coach, for everything this season.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Coach, thank you for joining us today. Great to talk to you all year. What's the one thing that you're going to always take away from this 2021 Liberty squad? And what's the biggest lesson that you're going to take with you into the future that this squad taught you in a roller coaster year?
I think that one of the things that I sat down with Jonathan during shoot around before the Phoenix game, and I was just looking at him, listening to the team, warm up, and saying that this might be the most fun team I've ever coached, and might ever coach. With the youth and the naivete that comes with that. The gravity of the game was really, I wouldn't say it was lost on anybody, but I certainly think that they approached it with a sense of curiosity and drive, rather than a sense of, if we don't win, we're failures or whatever. Like they really, I admire the way that this team approached their craft. And I think that, the culture that's now established here is one of, as I said before, respect for one another, care for one another, and a request and demand for selflessness from all of us. And that's a really hard thing to do when you've got a million people in your ear, telling you how great you are. This goes for all of us, coaches, players, everyone, telling you that you're never wrong. And, it's so-and-so's fault. To come in and learn to trust one another and give to one another on a daily basis. It's really the formula for success. It's really the formula for happiness. to be able to come to work and know that you have agency, know that, you're trusted and pushed, know that you're safe, with your teammates and with your coaching staff. All those things are essential. And I really think that's what we have here. So in terms of what I would take away from this season, I can say that the selflessness required in a leadership role, I've definitely learned more about that. I've learned more about, my own tendency when I'm mad at myself, my negative self-talk, I've had since I was a kid. Really, it was demanding it of the players that forced it out of me. It was saying, you can't take days off. You're a leader. And if I'm going to say that, I damn well better do it too. And so I would say that, some of the lessons that I was teaching, we were all learning at the same time. And that's where I talk about how everybody in this organization is still learning and growing. And I know that it's not a popular point of view to admit that there's room for growth and that you're imperfect, and that you still have a upward trajectory, because that means admitting that you've made mistakes or something like that. I know that it's not popular to do that, but I can say without a doubt that this team has made me a better coach and a better leader.
Appreciate that response, Coach. Appreciate your time and insight all year. Safe travels home, and we'll see you next season. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Coach. Next up, we have Michaela Onyenwere and Dee Dee Richards. Please raise your hands if you have questions for them. All right, Jackie Powell.
Hello, good morning. So I want to know from both of you, and this is something that we've sort of been talking about since the Mystics game. I know Erica's been asking about it, but from the two of you, I'm curious to know, what were some of the actionable items that you wrote on the board before the Mystics game? And how are you going to take some of those items with you, not only into the off season, but into next season too?
Mine specifically were coming off the bench and just bringing a lot of energy and being a spark, and also being locked in on the scouting report. I think that there's different nuances within each scouting report, and that's really important regardless of who we're playing. And so that's probably something that I'll continue to build on next season, and that'll probably follow me as well, because it's not going to get any easier to continue to follow and execute the defensive schemes or offensive schemes depending on what team we're playing. So that's definitely one thing I would say.
Oh, so good. Mine were definitely just being a spark off the bench, bringing the energy that I normally bring, and just not being so hard on myself and beat myself up all the time. I think I tend to do that, which makes it more of like a selfish thing when I get on the court, because now I'm into myself and now I'm thinking about what I did instead of what I can do to contribute to the team and fix whatever I did, whether that was a turnover and getting back on defense instead of turning the ball over and just walking and pouting. So I think that makes a big difference, especially in this league, because the game moves so fast, and just in the sport in general, it's a fast game. So dwelling on whatever happened the play before is going to just sit there and continue to be a domino effect.
Brilliant. And one more for both of you, and this is simple, but it's important. What did both of you learn about yourselves this season?
What a question.
Me?
Yeah, I go first.
Okay. This season, I think I learned that, I don't know, this is a tough question. I learned a lot this season about myself. And I think the main thing that I learned this season was that, when it comes to like defying the odds, I'm able to do that. Like in Baylor in college, I played 40 minutes. Here I get hurt, I get COVID, I don't play, and now I'm barely hanging on to a spot even on this team. So it's just being able to look adversity in the eye and being able to defy it no matter what odds are against you.
I would also agree, just being adaptable. It's been a whirlwind since, I've got here, just, from college to, the draft, to training camp, to playing, and then obviously going to Spain in a week. Like, it's just been a whirlwind to say the least. And so just being adaptable is something that I've really learned. And like Didi said, like when I'm facing adversity, just kind of going head on into it and not really having that pressure of like, just doing it sort of thing. And so that's one thing I think I've learned, is just I've been really adaptable throughout this process, and it's definitely helped me for the long run.
Just doing it.
Just do it. Nike.
I appreciate that. Before I pass it on to the next reporter, Didi, I just want to clarify, was that something you went through during preseason? What you were referring to?
No, like before, like just before season, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay. Thank you. And thank you both for the whole season. Take care.
Thank you.
Erica Ayala.
Yes, want to echo Jackie first and foremost. Thank you both for everything this season. But my question would be to spin what Jackie was asking and to think about this team. I'm curious if both of you would indulge me in what did you learn about the New York Liberty team, this particular roster, and if and how that changed throughout the season?
I would say that I learned that we're really resilient and we just have a lot more to grow and develop into. Obviously, we had a really up and down year as far as like wins and losses, but I think the thing that stayed consistent was just our team morale, and just every single day we came to work, regardless of, when we were on our 8-game winning streak or when we started 5-1. I think that the talk and the way we kind of talked to each other and stayed kind of rallying around each other, it was consistent through both of those kind of stints. And so I think that's what I would say, is that we were really resilient, even though things didn't always go the way we wanted to. And I think that'll kind of carry us into next season, where we'll have that experience. We'll have that 1 year under our belt. And so I think that'll help us in the long run.
If I was to like answer that question, I would literally repeat everything she said. So
then I'll ask this of you, Didi, if you don't mind. I think coming in, a lot of people had you pegged for what you would add defensively. In what ways do you feel that you've grown offensively, and how are you hoping to pick that part of your game up?
I definitely feel like defense was my calling. And my challenge this year was to add different things offensively to my game. And I think I did a good job of just staying in the gym with Dustin as much as I could, and just fixing some mechanics on my shots, because we only had 6 months in the season. So I had to pick one thing to master. And I think picking my jump shot was the best thing that I could do for myself. And just going into the offseason, I think just perfecting it, making it to where I'm a sniper. And then after that, perfecting more ball handling. At the end of the day, I felt I was a point guard at Baylor. So just being able to perfect my craft and get well on passes, ball handling, and reading ball screens. That is it.
Miles Ehrlich.
Hi, Michaela. Hi, Didi. Great to talk to you both. So I've got a question for both of you. Could you each share a favorite memory from your rookie season, both on and off the court?
Okay, off the court, I'm gonna say my birthday celebration. That was so fun.
That was so much fun.
It was so fun. It was so fun. It felt like I was being celebrated like the whole week. So that was really the whole month, honestly. So that was just really exciting. It's just come together with my teammates, and we're really, really close, just as a group. And so that was really nice to have that time off the court to like get really pretty, and like get to know each other a little bit more off the court, and then like have a lot of fun at like the rooftop and stuff. And then on the court, I don't know, we've had a lot of like really big moments. But maybe I would say the game that we came back and won from Seattle. I think that at home, when Benaja hit the shot, Benaja buckets off the backboard. That was just really cool, just because we were down a lot. And like I said before, we're a really resilient team, and when we kind of have it all clicking together, we could be really, really good. And I think that was one of those games where it's like we could fold right now, and we didn't. And so that was one of the more fun games. Obviously, Seattle is a perennial in this league, and so that definitely was probably one of my more favorite moments. But there's a lot like I could have chose.
Right. Hey Miles. Me off the court, I think would be Napa. I think Napa was so much fun, although the wine was not good. It was not good at all.
It just wasn't good because it wasn't so sweet.
We like sweet wine,
like
juice,
juice,
low alcohol concentration, high juice. That's us.
And it wasn't that.
And so Napa was so much fun though. Like she said, it was just an opportunity for us to get together as a team and just be like beautiful. Like, and I think y'all know that I love to get that up. So I could not wait. Like I was planning for like days on what I was gonna wear to Napa once they told us. So definitely Napa. On the court, like Meg said, there's so much. There's like so many opportunities on the court that I can pick, but I don't know what I'm gonna pick. Okay. I think I really hate that we lost this Phoenix game, because I think that was like hands down the best game. Like we played so well together. We gelled as a team. Other than that, and like Washington last game, I think that was like just a glimpse of what we could have been this season, you know? And it was just so fun to be on the court with the team that was so, you know, coherent. And we just, you know, we looked like we were having so much fun out there, and it felt so much fun. So I really hate that we lost that game, but it was a great game. So I would have to pick Phoenix and this last Washington game.
Thank you both. Those are both phenomenal answers. And then just another quick one was just for both of you, how comforting was it to always have another rookie in the huddle or in running drills at practice, just someone to share all the experiences and challenges of being a pro basketball player? And how did that help elevate each of your games?
I think it definitely helped. And it also helped that I knew Didi before. Like we were McDonald's All-American
McDonald's roommates.
We were McDonald's All-American roommates. So like I knew Didi for years. And so like to be drafted, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm back with Didi. But then obviously, like you said, like to have another rookie, like it's not easy to go to this league. And I know a lot of people that are just one rookie on a team. It's like, I don't know how people, have navigated through that, but like to have another rookie who, knows exactly what you're going through, has the same sentiments about plays, about the pace, about just the change and transition of the game, and coming from college and, coming from two really successful programs and, having the same kind of trajectory is really, really nice. And it's nice to adapt to, because I don't know if I could have done this year without Didi. And it was just a transition, but like she knows exactly what we were all going through, and so it was definitely something I'm really grateful for.
I agree. Just to, like I said, piggyback and literally echo what she's gonna say, but it was amazing, and it was such a breath of fresh air to come and see someone that was like me, or someone that had the quick turnaround going from college playoffs to straight into season, especially her. She's starting and playing so many minutes, so I'm sitting here crying like I'm dying, my legs hurt, but I know she's dying, so it was just cool to have someone to relate to in all aspects of life outside of basketball, on basketball, so it was just cool, especially us being like girly. Like we would call each other like, where'd you get your lashes done, where'd you get your nails done,
Yeah.
And stuff like that, like where it was cool to have her here whenever I needed someone to talk to.
Thank you both so much. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Good luck this offseason.
Bye, Miles.
Yeah, my little chatty.
Thank you. Good morning, both of you. Thank you for joining us today. My question for you is, we go through the season. This team, one of the big themes in the Phoenix aftermath has been, we're going to have this experience. We're going to have our identity somewhat established. So how important was it to end your rookie season, your respective rookie years, with a playoff experience like that? And what sort of identity from a freshman's perspective do you think this team has created so far?
I think it was definitely a great experience to, go out in the way that we did. We made playoffs. We weren't supposed to make playoffs. We've had a really up and down year. So like we've kind of went through kind of that adversity in our first year. And I think that's such great experience. And, like I said, we've had an up and down year, but it was not for naught. It's definitely going to kind of carry into the next year of just having that experience. And like Phoenix game was a tough game. Like it was a back and forth game. There was possessions where it was like this and that. And so it was definitely a game that we're gonna, look to and be like, we've been through these moments before where we were in a really tough situation where there was a game that was decided by literally a free throw, or literally one possession. And so that'll help us just in our experience for the long run. And then just as far as our identity, kind of like going back to just the resiliency of this team. And it'll be really scary to see our resiliency through 1 year of experience. Like we'll have that experience along with that resilience. And so I'm just really excited to see, how we put that into fruition for next year. And I think it'll be a really good one.
Like you said, how do you think that's going to impact us, or how was it to end on this type of game, a playoff game? I think it'll be good for us next year because it's literally leaving off where you picked up. It's good to pick up on something like this, a playoff run that you weren't even supposed to be on. So I think that's good. I think it speaks volumes for like what we're going to be in the future. And I think it's going to keep adding up. It's going to keep stacking up. We're in the playoffs now, first round. The next year is going to be this, and then the year after that's going to be that. So it's just being able to build off of what you ended on.
Absolutely. Thank you for that answer. And my other question is, of course, this team had its established veterans, but many of these leaders on this team were players who were young and close to you guys in age. I know Benaja stepped up, for example, this season as a leader, and you had several of the class of 2020 draftees coming in there, stepping up as leaders, like Sabrina, like Jasmine. So what was it? And you also had a former player on the coaching staff who was playing in the bubble as recently as last year, and Coach Jackie J. So what was it like working with, players close to your age out there, someone who is not far removed from the experiences you went through this year?
I think it's great to have that balance. We had a good balance of, we had Benaja and Natasha and Sami who've been in this league, who have had those experiences. And then we've also had, like, again, half of our team, is only in their first and second year. And so I think that balance is really good. And like you said, it's nice to hear perspectives from different kind of players and who have had different experience, where it's like, you're not just hearing one voice, you're just not hearing one type of leadership style. And so I think that was really good for our team. I think we really, really blended and meshed well, not only on the court, but also off the court as well. And so I love that balance of, having the young players who are speaking and using their voice, but also having that veteran leadership where it's like, they're people that we can look to and kind of trust in those moments.
Again, what she said.
Well, appreciate your time and insight all year. Thank you for joining us. And go out and have some sweet wine. You guys deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my favorite Rickies. Next up, we have Sabrina, Kylie, and Nay. Please raise your hands if you have questions. Thanks. All right, Jackie Powell, maybe.
Oh, okay. Are we ready? Good afternoon or good morning. It's almost noon. Good to see you three. So I want to start with Nay. I want to know how you can reflect on the group of sophomores. I mean, that's the three of you, and then there's Jazz and even Jocelyn, who never took the floor during the season, but clearly she was a vital part of this group's growth.
I think the group of sophomores really stepped up this year. I mean, pretty much helped lead us to go where we were. And, I just can't thank them enough for what they did. And I mean, you guys were just really fun to watch, and it was really exciting.
I appreciate that. And Sabrina, for you, I'm curious as to what maybe the advantages are to the adversity that went on in the beginning of the season, the injuries and, not having certain players and then them coming back. What does that prepare you for in the future?
Well, I think it's just how, like, professional sports work and sports in general. You can never rely on having a full healthy roster or things not going, how you envision them, because anything really happens in any given moment, whether it's in practice, in the off season, or during the season. So I think it kind of just puts things in a perspective of just being present and doing whatever you can to stay healthy. And so, this year wasn't what we had envisioned with having a healthy roster and being able to play at full strength, but I think it gave a lot of other people an opportunity to step up and grow on the court and grow, their experience in this league. And I think that ultimately helps us. And, it helped our bench a lot being able to be given that opportunity to play. And then, throughout the season, when we got a little bit healthier, they had that experience to come into the game ready.
Brilliant. And one more for you, and then I'll move on to Kylie. This is a simple one, but I think it's important. What did you learn about yourself this year?
I think a lot. There's something to learn from every practice, every game. I think every day, honestly. But I think, just the mental side of things with being injured and not playing the way I want to, and, having to figure out a way to get it done. I think that's something that I've never had to go through. I think after I got surgery and was rehabbing, I thought that this season would be, just like my first year, and would just be healthy and able to do what I wanted to do. But I think there was a lot of battles within themselves and trying to figure that out. So I think that's something that I learned about myself, was just how to deal with that and how I could be better through those times.
Fabulous. And Kylie, for you, take me through the type of work that you look to do in the off season and what you think needs to happen for this group to get over the single elimination hump next year.
Well, I plan to, basically work on everything, my shot, handles, being aggressive, being able to drive, just add stuff to my game, post up, in the off season, just getting better. For us, I think it's just consistency. We came out, we showed what we can do, and lost by 1. It was a tough loss, but I feel like next year we're going to come out and we're just going to improve off that. We know what we can do, and we're just going to do it.
And what did you learn about yourself this year?
I would probably stick with what Sabrina said, the mental aspect of it. I feel like last year was more about the physicality of the game, but I feel like this year was more mental, just being strong and not necessarily always being on the court, but always being there for my teammates and having the right mindset through that, and just working through the plays off the court as well.
And final one for Nay, I do want to know, what did you learn about yourself this year?
Yeah, the mental aspect was very tough. It's difficult to go through an injury, especially one like mine, where you can be fine one day and then the next day it's just really tough. So really just learning that you need to just step back from the game and just kind of think, you can do this and stuff like that. It's just really I learned that an injury is just really a mental game in itself. And this whole thing is just something that you just have to deal with and, conquer at the end of the day. So.
Thank you all, and take care.
Erica Ayala.
Thank you. First, I do want to thank you all for this season and everything that you've done and your time with us. But my question is for you, Kylie. Your role changed from season to season, and then even within this season. Who were some of your teammates or even some of the coaches that you were able to, help you throughout as your role was changing?
I would say everybody, honestly. All of the coaches, the two sitting right by me. We all at one point have had our roles changed, and I think us being the people we are know how to handle it. Of course, at times it can be frustrating, but I think that you just have to learn through it. And I think I have a lot of good people by my side who have helped me see the brighter aspect of everything, whether it is playing those minutes, whether it's not playing those minutes. So I would say everybody.
Thank you for that. Sabrina, I'd like to come to you for this one. You talked about having to, get acclimated to a new position in the WNBA. I'm just curious for you at that one position at the point guard, what were some things that you were able to glean about your own game playing in that position?
Yeah, a lot. Obviously having to learn a new offense coming from college, and a lot of new teammates this year, since I really didn't get a whole lot of games to play with, my team last year. So I think it's just really figuring out at the one position how to be the best on-court leader that I can, and getting everyone in the right spots, figuring out what plays are going to work for us and for what individuals, and doing everything that I can to help, those around me be the best that they can, which ultimately helps us as a team. So it was a new challenge. I haven't played at the one position. So I'm excited to take this off season and just continue to learn and figure out how I can improve my leadership and, my role at the one, which will ultimately help everyone around me as well.
And then, if I may, for you, Nate, you've talked with us last year about defense being your jam. This is a team that came in wanting to focus on defense, but had to really struggle through times where that wasn't necessarily coming to fruition. What do you think are the biggest learning curves as this team goes into next year on the defensive side?
Just staying consistent. It's basically with us, it was like kind of where if our offense was suffering, then our defense kind of suffered as well. So not going through those highs and lows and just kind of focusing on, all right, if they're not scoring, then if we're not scoring, then they're not scoring, and having that mindset and just really taking pride on the defensive side and not having people go off and stuff like that. So I think that's where we can take the next step forward next year.
Jeff Magliochetti.
Thank you. And all three of you, thank you for joining us, not just today, but all season as well. So my question for you guys as members of the draft class of 2020, Jazz Jones said in the midst of her Twitter jubilation that you guys went from 2 wins to the playoffs in the span of the year. So how big an accomplishment was that to rise from the depths of the bubble, where you undoubtedly learned things, but what does it feel to finally get an undeniable brand of proof that this, this game plan for the Liberty is working?
It's exciting for sure. I think it hurts more because we knew that, we should have won that last game and we could have continued to advance and, exceed expectation and, achieve what we knew we could achieve. So I think, that part is something that we're all still holding on to, but I think it shows and shines light on the growth of this team, the growth of the coaching staff and their belief in us and what we can accomplish. And they brought us all here for a reason. They had this vision for us, from Jonathan, making sure all the pieces are in the right place, but also bringing in, this year, a lot of players that really helped us get to this point, with Benijah and Sami and Tosh and everyone else that, came in this year as a new player. It just shows how much of an impact they had on our team as well. And so, sky's the limit, I think, for next year. And I think we're really excited to just see what we accomplish in next season.
Nate and Kylie, anything to add to that?
No, I think she put it well.
Fair enough. And Sabrina, you mentioned this is for all three, but Sabrina mentioned several acquisitions that came in with this team. But I was hoping to ask about the impact of Reshonda Gray, who has years of WNBA experience under her belt. Sabrina, you guys have had the Pac-12 connection, the California connection that's worked so well. So what sort of an impact did Reshonda Gray leave on this team, especially for a young group like yourselves?
Yeah, I think a huge impact, even off the court, just from a leadership aspect. She's very vocal and she's had experience in this league. And so her ability to come in every single day and every single night and just talk through, what she sees, and everyone responds really well to her and listens to her. And then on the court, I think her ability to just stay ready, in that last game, she came in and I think had 8 points and, hit a big 3, had an and one, a couple layups. And it's times like that where you look at a player like, yeah, she's been locked in and she's ready for this moment. And so it's pretty inspiring to see, how she stayed ready and was able to give to our team and help us in that game. And so I think everyone, including, these two next to me, just saw how she kind of grew into herself and how she helped us as a team.
And last one from me, what's the one skill each of you wants to work on this offseason?
I'd say shooting.
Shooting.
Kylie?
Working on my handles.
Well, once again, appreciate your time and insight all season. Thank you for joining us, and safe travels home.
Thank you.
Last one, Miles Ehrlich.
Hi, Nay. Hi, Sabrina. Hi, Kylie. Good to talk to you three. I wanted to start with you, Sabrina, because when we spoke to you at the exit interview last season, you were still rehabbing daily, and it was the worst of COVID, so you couldn't even find a gym to get into, and you were just really eager to play competitive basketball again. At the time, you'd mentioned potentially going overseas late in the season to return to some game action. So now that you're healthy this time around, have you made any decisions about trying to find a team abroad?
Yeah, I'm not really sure yet. I think gonna be able to decide in this next week or two about what I want to do. I don't think I'm gonna go now. If anything, it could be towards the back half to start ramping up into the season. So I think, I'm gonna take this time to figure out what I want to do during the off season, and then gonna decide.
Great, thanks so much. And then Nay and Kylie, you two had a full season in the bubble and now a full season outside of it with fans, with large arenas, with travel, with the playoff experience. So how do those two experiences that are vastly differ for each of you?
Like you said, it is everything. It's adding travel, adding different arenas. It definitely adds a lot. It's lovely to have fans and some people here to support you, and it definitely is different. I mean, it's not riding our bike to practice and then taking a bus to one arena and seeing the whole WNBA in one area. But I mean, it's nice. It's definitely better than the bubble. I would tell you that. It's been a good experience being out, and I really can't wait to see what it's like moving forward, especially because we're still in the pandemic and things are still happening. So I don't feel like any of us have had a real season yet. So hopefully moving forward, we can gain that experience.
And Nay, sorry, I wanted to follow up with you on that too, and just kind of more centered on Brooklyn and how the difference was in being in Brooklyn and getting to know this city, as opposed to, like Kylie said, being in a village with the rest of the 144 and not really having that kind of interaction.
Yeah, it definitely felt like we were still in college, and which wasn't a big transition since we had just graduated, but we definitely had more freedom. We got to see the city a lot more, even though there are still COVID restrictions. It was an experience that I wouldn't forget. And I enjoy New York. It's not California, but I enjoy it.
Fair enough. Thank you all. Have a great off season. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for joining us. Next up, we have Reshonda Gray, Jasmine Jones. Please raise your hands if you have questions for them. All right, first question, Jackie Powell.
All right. Good afternoon, both of you. Good to see you.
Hi, Jackie.
Yes, Reshonda, I will start with you. So this was a roller coaster season for you. A lot of
Yes,
ups
it
and downs.
was.
But what made this, I guess, special amid the challenges, and what did you learn from it?
I would like to first start off by saying, yes, this season was like an up and down season. And something that really stood out to me the most was just this program and what they believe in and how much they believe in their players. I was just telling the locker room after the Phoenix game, like,
just thank y'all. It was a blessing and an honor because 6 months ago I wasn't on the roster. I was coming off surgery, so didn't go overseas or anything like that. And New York decided to take a chance on me and brought me in. So that was just something really special, just going into how they believe in their players and how they also believe in this great program.
I appreciate that. Now, I also, want to ask you about your performance from that Phoenix game. That was some performance. What were you thinking emotionally when the coaching staff was like, "We need you to come in"?
Well, I know it was actually a really good performance. I was very surprised. I was just basically living in the moment at that time. But like I told you when I wrote on the board, be a vet. And I feel like vets step up during that time. And I just tried to step up and be the best vet that I can be.
Yeah. And finally for Reshonda, before I move on to Jazz, I do want to follow up on what you said when, this whole idea of how this program really believes in its players. How so?
I mean, one, you can tell just by our team chemistry and piecing this team together for a great reason. But not only that, our growth, just believing in us and just being there and supporting us. I mean, we went on an 8-game losing streak. Was it an 8-game losing streak? Went on the 8th-game losing streak. They still stuck with us, rolled with us. We won the last game and we ended up making playoffs. So far as that perspective on the court, just sticking by our side and believing us, and then outside the court, we had the opportunity to go wine tasting and do other team bonding things that not a lot of other organizations did.
I appreciate that, as always, Reshonda. Now, Jazz, for you, when we talked to Coach Walt earlier, he said that Reshonda is one of the most mentally tough people he's ever met. So I want to know if you can talk to us about Reshonda's impact on you and this group.
No, Gregory's she's amazing. She's such an amazing human. She's super caring. She's super caring. She put others before herself all the time. She look out for us. She's like everybody's big sister.
Thank you, because I was be mad if you said mom. I was gonna be real mad. If you
No,
said
she's
mom.
like everybody's big sister for real though. But she looks out for all of us. We would go out to eat. Gregory sometimes wouldn't even let us pay because she'll take care of it for us. She's just super sweet, and she go out her way to do little things for people. She keeps everybody level-headed too. I remember it was a game I was really frustrated, and then Gray just came up to me and just talked to me and was just like, "Bro, you got it. Just calm down, refocus, and you'll be good." So she keeps everybody level-headed, keep everybody sane. So she's a big part of our team, and I'm glad to have her on our team. Love you, bro.
That was very sweet. I appreciate that. I appreciate the vulnerability. Now, Jazz, for you, how can you reflect on the group of sophomores? You, Kylie, Sabrina, Nay, and even with Jocelyn, who never took the floor this season, but clearly she was still such a vital part of this group's growth. Helping you guys out with scouting.
Yeah, everybody that's in their second year was a very integral part to our team. Just like you said, with Jocelyn not being there, her still having her voice, her still doing scout stuff for us. I remember we played Vegas. She wrote up a whole player personnel for us without us having to do it, without the coaches having to do it. She wrote it up for the whole team and passed it out to us before we played Vegas here at home. So she was a big part of our team, even with her not playing. And just with everybody, this is really Sabrina's first year. So she was, so I'm not even gonna count her as a sophomore. It's her first full year playing, and she had a great first year. With me, Kylie, and Nate was just finding our role on the team this year and just being ready whenever our number was called.
Great. And finally, you all go your separate ways for around 6 months. What is the key to making sure that there's no regression when you come back in April, and that, you can build on how you ended here?
Everybody has to has to take a look in the mirror and figure out like what do we need to work on individually, how can we get better, and use this time apart to get better, so therefore when we get back together in training camp next year, we can build on what we started here towards the end. So just taking this time, if you're going overseas, if you're not going overseas, just staying in the gym, watching film, and just working on the things that you can do better.
Thank you both so much, and take care.
Thank you, Jackie.
Erica Ayala.
Hey y'all, thank you as always, and thank you for a great season. Sorry if it's a little loud, I'm on the move, but Reshonda, I wanted to come to you for this one. I asked Coach Hopkins in response to something that another WNBA coach mentioned about how he gets the team to, as the other coach used it, overachieve, or essentially how he pushes the limitations, or not the limitations, but how he has the team aspire to continue to improve. I wondered, as someone who's been with a few other teams, what do you see in Coach Hopkins and this New York Liberty staff that allows this team to continue to build and grow individually and collectively?
So one thing I would say is, at the end of the day, we're professionals. The WNBA is a roster full of 144 people, so it's cutthroat. Every day you gotta bring your A game, because what one person won't do, the next one will. But far as the coaching staff, one of the things that I will say about them is they challenge us. Not only do we challenge ourselves and be hard on ourselves, they're like our cool parent, but then, sometimes we may bump heads when we're not doing what we're supposed to do. But one of the things about the coaches, like, they just challenge us. They make us step up and challenge us, and they give us an option. You're going to either do this or you're going to do that. And if you do it this way, this is coming from experience, because I care and I see a lot of potential in you.
I love that. And Jazz, going off of that, there's also the challenging that Reshonda was talking about, but also Walt said that this is a coaching staff that loves to be nurturing and to be supportive. So I would like to ask you about how the coaching staff has been able to utilize that as another way of getting the best performance from individuals and the team collectively.
Everybody on the team is different. Everybody needs like different type of motivation in a sense. So like what I might need is not the same as what Gray might need or Kylie might need or something like that. Like, so for me and how I've been playing over the years while playing basketball, I've always had that coach that was very, very hard on me and didn't let me take days off, or always wanted the best for me. So stayed on me like literally all the time. Like, I grew up with that. And so I've always wanted that. Other than like other people might need a coach to just sit there and talk to them and just like be there and like, hey man, you got this. Like, for me, I needed the other way. I needed hardcore. I needed raw. Like, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, tell me straight up. Like, no, I don't need no gray areas. Wow. I needed black and white with me. So
that's NGA.
That's how I needed. So like, everybody's different. So what every player needs is different. So
I see what you did there, and that's that New Yorker by way of Florida in there, right?
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Miles Ehrlich.
Hi, Reshonda. Hi, Jazz. Great to talk to you both. I wanted to follow up, Reshonda, a little bit first on what you said to Jackie about having several chances at a first impression with this Liberty team this year. But how did you see this team, especially the young players, grow from the first 10-day you signed to the end of the season where you were in a playoff game down to the wire?
I'll use Mick, for example. Beginning of the season, Mick will go to the basket. No, I love you, Mick, okay? But this is a growth moment right here. So earlier in the season, Mick will go to the basket, try to finish on one leg and throw something up and hope she get fouled. Her being a rookie, she's not going to always get the calls that she should get. Thank you. So after the break, I watched Mick put in a lot of work on her 2-foot finishes. And watching in Connecticut was when I was the most proud of her. Seattle, when I was really proud of her. And even to DC, where she went into the paint, got the contact, and finished with 2 feet. should have been an N1, but she didn't get the call. But I was just really proud of just her growth, just going in there and just being an aggressor. So from the beginning of when I got here to 10 days to the now, the growth between this team has been outstanding. And it's even more special grinding next to them. I would say, like, just watching them grow and then watching it roll over in the game was probably like the most proudest moment for me.
Thank you so much. That was a really, really great answer. And Jazz, everyone we've talked to praises your leadership throughout the season. So how in your second year did you take that leap where you maintain the positive energy that you've always had and then mold it into something that inspires your teammates and just makes you such a favorite among the entire fan base?
Oh no, like I've been doing it since I was in high school, just being a good teammate, bringing all the energy, and when I'm not in the game, just being the biggest cheerleader on the bench. That's just what I've been known to do, and that's what I'm gonna continue to do, bringing the energy on and off the court. So I'm glad everybody like it.
Great, love it so much. Great talking to you guys both. Have a good off season and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Jeff Magliochetti.
Thank you, Reshonda and Jasmine. Thank you for joining us not only today, but through the whole year. Reshonda, my first question is for you. All these players, including the one sitting next to you, they've talked so much about what you have done for them, what you have taught them. My question for you is, what have your teammates this year taught you?
Wow. Off the court or on the court? Because I learned a lot from this team. But both. You know, sometimes, I mean, I can speak from my own personal experiences, but they taught me to never doubt myself. And the reason I say that is because sometimes I may not see my true potential still, or I may not see something how they see it. And they continue to push me. They continue to respect me and show me why I am the person I am today. So that's definitely something big that they taught me, is to always believe in myself and bet on myself twice on Sundays too. But not only that, off the court, they constantly just show me, like, always be a good person. Like, always be good, whether things go your way or it doesn't go your way, karma is real. So just always just to be a good person on and off the court, and just continue to be a great leader.
Appreciate that answer. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
My other question is for you. Oh, thank you. And Jazz, my other question is for you. First of all, we'd like to thank you once again for your Twitter jubilation on Sunday.
Oh my God, yeah.
In the midst of that euphoria, you had a nice little moment of reflection where you said, we went from 2 wins to the playoffs in a year. So in terms of you and the class of 2020, how important was it to get that sign of undeniable proof this year that what this team is building is working?
Like I said it at the beginning of the year, like we're a completely different team than we were in the bubble. So like going from 2 wins to now making the playoffs, it's all about progress, not perfection. So therefore, we're going to continue to build on things. I wish y'all could see what's going on right now, but Naja Laney is literally right here in my face, making me laugh. So like, yeah,
you got games on your phone.
But yeah, so like going from that team to this team, just two completely different teams. And we knew from the start of training camp that we was definitely gonna win more than 2 games. Like I told y'all at the beginning of the year, I will bet my whole salary this year on it that we will win more than 2 games, and we did. So but no, I love this team. And then next year it's gonna get even better. We're going to keep building. Like our whole team this year, collectively together, all healthy. We probably played 6 or 7 games together, if you think about it, with not having people on the injury report and things like that. And Jocelyn didn't even play this whole year. So like going into next year, we'll have our full team, hope and pray that everybody comes in healthy. So we won't even have to deal with some of the stuff that we dealt with this year. And then just building on that, and our chemistry will go up, and getting to know each other even more than we know each other now will go up too as well. So next year it'll be even better, like Banaja said.
Appreciate that. Glad I'm not a betting man, by the way, so thank you for that. Appreciate your time and insight all year. Thank you for joining us, and safe travels home.
Thank you guys for supporting us throughout the year. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you, ladies. Next up, last but certainly not least, Natasha Howard, Rebecca Allen, and Benijah Laney. Please raise your hands if you have questions for them. That's great. This is a video, Jazz, not a photo, but thank you. First up, we have Jeff Magliochetti. Let's just, Jeff.
No, thanks so much. Appreciate that. Welcome, all three of you, for joining us, not just today, but the entire season. Benijah, one of the quotes that has made its way across the WNBA Twitter sphere through everything is that we're going to be back and we're going to be good. So what gives you the confidence to make a statement like that? And what's the biggest obstacle in completing that goal?
I think just in these last 2 games, we've shown how much we've grown throughout the season. And as you heard Jazz say a little bit earlier, we haven't even been 100% healthy throughout the season. So if we come back and everybody's healthy, everybody's gone home and worked on their game, like I know that they will. And we have that experience together. We have that, more chemistry, and we're still continuing to grow. And I think that the start of next season will be really big for us. And then throughout that season, we'll continue to grow and be better.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Natasha, my next question is for you. As someone who is new to this New York landscape, what can you say about the identity and culture that this team has built in the early going?
We built toughness through the whole season, toughness and heart. Just seeing us grow each game, each practice, this whole year. Like Laney said, they better be ready for us next year because it's gonna be a hurricane coming through.
Looking forward to it. And Beck, my last question is for you. You came back this year in a system that almost seemed tailor-made for you, and you took full advantage of that this year, working your way into the starting 5 by the end of the year. Where do you think you took the biggest step forward in your game this season in playing a vital role in helping this team get back to the playoffs?
It was definitely a growth year for me. I think it was the first time I really played significant minutes in the W. And so in that, it's just confidence. I feel like I really grew in a lot of confidence throughout this season. And I've sort of put forth all the things that I've been working on in the years prior to it. So I'm proud of that growth for myself.
And I got one more for all three of you, if you don't mind. What's one lesson, one thing you will take away from the 2021 New York Liberty, be it on the court, off the court, about your teammates, about each other, about yourselves? What's one thing you're going to take away from this year?
2 feet. That's my thing. And it's still a work in progress.
Me too.
Appreciate your time and insight all year. Thank you for joining us. Safe travels home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie Powell.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I want to start with Natasha. So as a player with experience being knocked out in single elimination, I know Seattle went through that in 2019.
In 2019.
Yeah, it happened. I did my research.
It's Minnesota.
And yes, with Minnesota.
No.
No.
LA.
Okay, well, okay. What do you think is the key to this team getting over the hump in next season or during next season?
Like Laney said, the 2 games that we played, you can tell that we compete with anybody. And just keep growing, just keep working on our game individually, collectively. So when next season comes, we all be ready and we already know what we need to do coming in, starting in training camp. And also, to get over that hump, we got to do the things in the beginning of training camp. And when we get to that point of getting over that hump and going to the next thing, we'll be good.
I also want to ask you a bit about what you went through mentally and emotionally when you came back from your injury. It was referred to earlier in this Zoom call that, when you first got on the court, you had to make some adjustments. And then in the last few games, you showed us who Natasha Howard is. So take us through a little bit emotionally what that was like for you.
Well, it was my first injury ever in my career. Yeah, my first injury. It was hard, especially for me. Just like I never ever thought about ever getting injured. But it was it was mental on me a lot. I kind of got depressed a little bit. It was sad because I wanted to be out there with my team to help my team out, but God had his purpose for me, and that actually helped me reflect on a lot of things just sitting out. But coming back from it, like I was kind of nervous, seeing how my body's going to feel, like cutting, moving, jumping, running. It was always in the back of my head when I first came back against Minnesota. I'm kind of nervous, but
You couldn't tell.
but I was nervous though, to be honest. But nobody can tell, but only I could tell. And games went on, I just started feeling comfortable even more. And having Miss Terry them helping me out, getting my legs strong, getting everything I need to do, not to prevent another injury. I started becoming myself again, getting my bounce back, getting my step back in my game again. So.
Natasha, thank you for that. I appreciate the vulnerability. I know it's not always easy, so thank you. Benija, for you, we have heard all about your journey becoming a leader this year. So what I want to know is, how can you assess sort of your growth as becoming a leader of a professional WNBA team?
I think I've always been somebody that has been vocal, regardless of whatever team I was on, regardless of the role. So I think that this year, just having everyone around me look up to me and listen to what I have to say and take it and really accept me as their leader, as their captain. It just helped me grow into being more comfortable in that role.
I appreciate that. And you all are now going your separate ways for around 6 months. So what is the key to making sure that there is, no regression when you come back in April? Because 6 months, that's a long time.
What's that?
There's no going back.
What's that? Continue to check in, continuing to, make sure that we're building that chemistry off the court. That's all, that's all we're able to do, that we're all on different teams playing different styles of basketball, just making sure that we're checking in and, understanding what the goal is coming back into next season.
I appreciate that. And Beck, now for you, you've been with this organization for a while. We can't shy away from that. It's the truth. And so what I want to know from you is what made this iteration stand out in your eyes?
I found this was a totally different year. I know I've spent at New York with like 3 different coaches and all of that, but this is a season where there was a complete change in terms of system, personnel, everything. And in some ways that's an exciting thing. It's almost like playing for a different club, but within the same organization. And I mean, for me, it's been really nice to see the change, because I think people before don't see how, everyone at different clubs, you have different ownership and all of that, but wow, it's pretty impressive how they look after us here. I think that's a really special thing, because that they are invested not just in the organization as a whole, but in us as people. So I think as a big thing that really stands out is the changes from my first, that came out bad, maybe from my first year to now, but wow, it's really great to see where they want to see this league go and where it's headed.
I appreciate that. And Beck, also, how vital do you think it's going to be to make sure that a lot of these pieces or these players stay on this roster in order to continue building that chemistry for years to come?
Yeah, in the locker room after the final game the other day, Walt even made a comment about wanting to keep the core of us or us together, because that's how a system grows, having had this season, I know that we got knocked out in that first round, but I think that there's so much to look forward to, because I think we've only just started to scrape the surface of what we can be. There's that ultimate buy-in by everyone. And I think that you could see that particularly defensively. I think in the last games, the way that we were playing on a string with each other and I just think that with that being only done within really that one season, it's going to be pretty special to see what happens the following year.
And finally, I do want to ask whoever of you all wants to answer about Reshonda Gray's impact on this group. She was someone who had a roller coaster of a season, and Walt just came out here and he called her one of the most mentally tough people he's ever met.
I mean, yeah, you have to be mentally tough to endure a lot of what Reshonda has endured, throughout her career as a professional basketball player. And I can kind of resonate with that a bit. I've kind of had a similar journey in a way, bouncing around from team to team, just having one kind of specific role. It's like, we want you, but we don't know. So I get it. And so for her to come in and just have the impact that she's had this year has been really big for us. She stepped up in a major way, both on and off the court. She leads as well, just always vocal. If there's anybody that's on me, is Reshonda, just making sure that I'm being held accountable for anything that I'm doing. So I can say that each and every one of us appreciates everything that she brings to the table, her toughness, her grit. She gets after it on both ends. So I'm happy to have her alongside of me on the court, in the locker room, just in life. She's a really, really special person, and she brings a lot to this team, not just on the court, just in everything that she does and just everything that she is as a person.
I need your hair done, go to bed so long.
Huh? What was that? Anyway.
Nothing.
Thank you all. I appreciate all that you've given to us this season. Thank you and take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Erica, y'all.
Thank you. Handing out my virtual handshakes for another great season for all of y'all. But I wanted to come to you, Beck, on this one. Whether we go with Jeff's, I don't know what was it, elder stateswoman or whatnot, but I wanted to reflect actually on the moments that the team had this year with Teresa Weatherspoon. You would have had her on your coaching staff. But I know she came in, I guess, around the time Crystal Robinson was inducted into the Ring of Honor. I was just curious to get your reflections on Teaspoon and the message that she gave to this New York Liberty team.
Yeah, I mean, she's an energy like no other. She came out here and she's whatever she has to say, you listen, I feel. And she's also just a great storyteller. I think the way that she spoke to us at the dinner was pretty poignant, and it really made us all pay attention. I think she showed us how the New York Liberty organization, we've always been playing and known as tough. There's that toughness. That was a big word that she used a lot. But even just for me personally, I value her advice so much. She's seen me in my first year, 22 or whatever, to now. And then so whenever she's got feedback on my game, I know that it's coming from a place from here. And also she also knows me and she knows how I can take my next steps. So, I mean, having her around and just being around her energy again was really nice for me.
Thank you for that. Benija, I asked Coach Hopkins a little bit earlier today about how he, and I'll use the term Reshonda used, but how he challenges this team. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on the ways that Coach Hopkins and the coaching staff are able to integrate being able to have the team aspire to more than where they're performing at any given moment, but also how they can also be nurturing at the same time.
I think it's just understanding, where it's all coming from, understanding that we all have a common goal, and that everything is done out of love. Everything, he says all the time, everything is for the greater good of the team, so just not taking anything personal, just being able to be held accountable for our actions, but then also understanding, that we are human and we make mistakes and that it'll be okay. So I think just, having that balance of holding people accountable, but also, being understanding really goes a long way.
Appreciate that. And Natasha Howard, if you could indulge me on this one, I'm actually out here in Seattle getting ready to chat it up with Noel Quinn, who's someone that you would have known in your time here. just curious to get your reflections on being able to see Noelle Quinn be the next Black woman head coach in the WNBA.
It's amazing seeing Noe as the head coach for Seattle, like especially the first Black woman to do it. It's amazing. She came a long way, even playing with her. She's an intelligent, smart person, and I'm happy that she got that position at Seattle.
All right, thanks again, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Be well.
Thank you.
Last, Miles Ehrlich.
Hi, Beck. Hi, Tosh. Hi, Banaja. Great to talk to the three of you. I want to kind of hop around and ask you questions about the other people on stage with you, because this is such a close-knit group. So first, I want to start by asking Tosh and Banaja about Beck. So she finished third in the WNBA behind Sylvia Fowles and Brianna Stewart with 2.8 combined steals and blocks this season, despite playing significantly fewer minutes. So the other day, Shelly Patterson said that she's good for one of those Inspector Gadget type steals every game, getting her arms into the passing lanes. So how would you two pitch the WNBA's award voters on Beck Allen's WNBA All Defense campaign?
I think you just said it all. I don't even think we have to. I think that you put that out there. You know, there's no reason that she shouldn't be, a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, as well as, being on first team All Defense.
Oh, thanks, babe.
I mean, you need to think Miles put it.
Oh, yeah.
He put it very nicely.
All right, then let me jump now to Tosh. So asking Beck and Banaja about Tosh. So after averaging 14 points a game on 47% shooting while she was working back from that injury, in September, she jumped to another level, scoring 20 points a game on 64% shooting. So how much of a lift is it for you guys going into next season, seeing her work back and work through that really difficult injury? And like she said, the first one of her career, and just knowing what the future looks like when you've got her in rhythm and knowing the sets and being comfortable and building that chemistry.
No, I think it'll be really good for us. Tosh, she brings a lot to this team. She brings experience. She knows what it looks like to win. She's capable of getting it done on both ends of the floor. She presents a lot of mismatches for other teams. So just to be able to play alongside of her, at while being healthy, it's really big for us. And so I'm excited for the years to come, that we'll all be here together to just come in healthy, to come in at our best, and just have that chemistry, have that experience playing with each other, learning and growing, both on and off the court. But to answer your question, yeah, Tosh, she's been really, really great for us.
Okay, great. And then last,
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that I like her or anything.
I don't like
at all.
last one for Banaja. So last 2 years, she went first from Indiana in the preseason, then down to Atlanta, and then gets to New York and starts with, 8 straight games of 20 plus points, finishes top 10 in scoring, an all-star, leads you guys in the playoffs. Could you just talk about her impact as a teammate and just seeing her growth even this season, but throughout her career, because you've all had really long, difficult stretches in your career and just building to this point?
I already knew Laney had that in her. She just needed the opportunity in her career, and she got it coming to New York. I'm happy that I'm playing with her, not against her.
100%.
But yeah, she's an amazing person. She lead with example and with her voice too. And I'm happy to call her my leader, because I ain't the vocal type of person, so I'm happy. So
leader and teammate, yeah. It's just like you always want to have her on your team, and it's an energy that just lifts everyone else up too, because there's so much power in leading by example, because it makes people want to follow. So I think that that's just a huge part of who she is.
Thanks so much, and good luck to all of you this offseason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, so much. And thank you to all of you guys for joining us today and every day. We really appreciate, your coverage and your support.